Hi there. Welcome to the Biz Communication Show. I'm your host, Bill Lampton, the Biz Communication Guy, bringing you tips and strategies on communication that will boost your business. Now, in our 8th year of producing this video audio podcast. And as you know, I do not just share my own wisdom about business communication, but I bring on an expert, and our conversation will enlighten you and me both with tips and strategies that will help us boost our business. Today, it's a wonderful privilege to welcome a longtime friend, colleague, associate, mentor, Terry Brock, coming to us from Orlando, Florida. Terry Brock is a communicator, and I can underscore that. Since he was a kid, in fact, in second grade, he has been writing. He worked as a journalist for many years, and his undergraduate degree is in communications, working with radio, TV, and newspaper. Today, Terry and his partner and fiancee, Gina Carr, and Gina was a recent guest on the Biz Communication Show. Terry and his fiancee, Gina Carr, have a membership program called Stark Raving Entrepreneurs, where they help people build their business, leveraging the daylights out of AI and other tech. Today, he joins us again to talk about what is happening and how you can move your business to the next level. So I know you join me in welcoming Terry Brock. Hello, Terry.
Great to be with you, Bill. Thank you for having me on board.
Well, your introduction, which you kindly provided, did not even begin to describe your immense qualifications, which I'm very familiar with. Not long ago, Terry, you and I were having a visit. As a matter of fact, you and Gina came to see me here in my home in Gainesville, Georgia. And I remember asking you how many countries you had spoken in, directed seminars in, or done training in. What is that latest number? I know you're a global presenter. What is that latest number?
Well, the latest as of now is 44 countries and counting. So they would include places like England and Canada and France and Dubai and even Texas. And so, a lot of different places there.
Well, truly, you do. Some people call themselves a global speaker because they made one presentation outside the country, but you definitely are a global speaker, and in recognition of the great impact you've had globally, you have received the highest honors available from the National Speakers Association. And I still remember in 1998, I believe it was, you and I met at a National Speakers Convention. And then I had other encounters with you when you lived in Georgia, and we were both members of the Georgia chapter of the National Speakers Association. This was before you set your business and your residence in Orlando, Florida. One of the great traits that you have, and there are many as a presenter, is that you involve your audience. It's not just what I would call a mannequin with a mouth, just somebody who spews out a message and hope people are getting it. And also, you're not a novice who, when you want to get your audience involved, you say, hey, anybody got any questions? And there's this frightening, deadly silence. Share with us, please. Many of us are presenters, whether we're professional or whether we're business and professional people. Share with us some of the strategies and techniques that you use, Terry, to get your audience vocally and physically involved in the presentation.
Well, that's a good question, because I think that's important when you're connecting with people. You want to find out what it is that's on their mind. One of the things I found a change that I've done recently that helps, maybe this will help some of the viewers and listeners here. Often I would ask for, what would you like to hear about? What topic do you want to hear? And that's good, not bad. They might say, well, this or that. We do a lot with AI. So they'd want to know about using ChatGPT for this, or maybe using Gemini for that, or how does this tool work, et cetera. Those are good, but even better is when you can do your research and then lean forward and ask people, where are you having problems right now? What are some of the big frustrations you're having with technology? What's the biggest problem you bump into with ChatGPT? Or what are your biggest concerns and worries about it? Something like that, those kind of questions that are tailored for the market, whatever it is that you're serving, does a lot better. I think in terms of what a surgeon, a physician would do. When you go into this physician's office, the physician often doesn't say, well, would you like to know more about this medicine? Or would you like to know about this medicine? No, they say, how you doing? Any pain, any hurt, anything I can do to help you out? A really good physician will do that. And so I've been thinking that's probably a good way to do it. And I think then you respond back to the people based on where they're hurting. And by the way, as you know this very well, Bill, today we're in a great shape, as better than ever before. That sounds like hyperbole, but it's true, because now we can do the research and find out where are they hurting? Where are they bumping into problems? With tools like Perplexity, it does great work with research. So does ChatGPT now, and Gemini, and particularly Grok. Grok is giving you real-time information of what's going on right now, particularly relevant in some areas when there's a crisis or an emergency going on. So I think what we want to do is be aware of what's possible, and then always be oriented toward how do we solve their problems. Nice to talk about a topic, and we'll mention that. Okay, fine, if it's relevant to them. But more importantly, find out where they're hurting, where they're bumping into real world pain, and how we can grab a tool over here that'll help that, or a tool over here that'll solve that problem.
Audience analysis is absolutely a vital key, because the presenter, whether you're an executive or whether you're a professional speaker, the presenter, if it's a solo act, audiences today are not they're not going to stick with you, and so you need. And I see perpetually. You and I both know Lois Creamer, who advises us so often about what is happening in the speaking business, and one of the points that she makes repeatedly is that we must be problem solvers. We must not just be topic experts, but we must be problem solvers. And carrying this just a little bit farther, Terry, you've done your audience analysis and you get up to present, and knowing you do not talk for 60 minutes or whatever is allowed without really getting the audience involved. And as I said a few minutes ago, the old way is saying, hey, anybody got any questions? And of course, usually no one will be the first one, and there are none. So how do you get true involvement, feedback, maybe a Q&A? How do you get the audience stimulated to do that, guided to do that?
I don't think there's any one particular way to do it, but there's some things we can do today that help a lot. Like, for instance, I recently spoke out in Texas to a group of people that were in landscape and in nurseries. They're working with those and working with the green industry, growing, just wonderful, wonderful people. And I wanted to study their industry and find out, what are they going through? So I used my buddies, as I like to say, my buddies, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Grok, and some other tools out there to find out what is going on, what is bothering people in those industries out there in Texas right now. And so I knew some of the issues that were going on, and I had some fun with it, Bill. You'll appreciate this. What I did is I looked at what was going on, and one of the issues they're having concern with right now is with labor, getting people to come and work for them, what the prices are going to be for labor, et cetera, and the shortage. And so what I did is I say, I understand that in your industry right now, here in Texas, you're going through labor issues, trying to find out. And they're kind of shaking their head going, yeah, he knows what he's talking about. I say, let me show you a way we can figure that out. And what I did is I reached over, grabbed my phone, went over to Chat GPT, popped it into voice mode, and I said, Chat GPT, need you to act as an expert here in Texas in the area of nursery and with grooming and growing shrubs and things like that. What is going on right now that is causing problems in labor? Do you see happening in that? And it came back and gave me an extensive conversation there about what's happening, the issues, et cetera. I cut it off saying, okay, that's real good. Hang on just a minute. And I paused and I looked at them and I say, is what ChatGPT told us accurate? And they say, yeah, that's true, but we all know that. I said, yeah, that's right. And you want to know what he can do to tell you to get around that and work around it? They go, yeah. And I said, okay, we just confirmed, though, that he knows what he's talking about. He, because I was using the male voice at that time, he was there, able to give me the information. What was said, is that correct? And they're all going, yeah. I go, now, the other issue is what? And they told me some of the issues. I said, that's right. And I said it, I repeated that back into ChatGPT, and it came up with some solutions for them, some of which they had heard, some they had not. They're writing it down, thinking, oh, this is great. And I said, this is what's happening right now in the industry, and this is how you can do it. If we had more time right now, we could go further in depth on it, but here's how you can do it on your own. And I gave them the instructions on what to do with ChatGPT or other LLMs. So Bill, cycling back around to what you're asking about, find those areas where they're hurting, where they, your audience, has pain, and then customize it. And today we can leverage the daylights out of these tools to help us find out what's really going on. Because see, where it's getting its information, it's not just going out to where people say, oh yes, we're having a problem with this, and that might not be the real issue. But where they really will let you know is on Grok. They going over to Grok. They will talk about that. They'll talk about it on X. They'll talk about it on Reddit. They'll go into Facebook. They'll go into LinkedIn. They'll go different places, and that's where you want to tap into it. So you let the LLMs do that. Let them go out and find the areas that are repeatedly over and over. We're hearing people say, this is a problem in this industry. What are the solutions for that? And then it will come out and say, oh, well, let's look at who others are doing, what others are doing, how they're handling it. What are they doing to get beyond these challenges? And so now, do you see the issue is, Bill, what you have been doing for years so magnificently, so elegantly, is leaning forward to find out what people want, how they need help. And you've been doing that exceptionally well. And now we have some tools called large language models, LLMs, that can help us to find out what's really going on underneath the surface, because people will go out on Reddit and they'll type, boy, I'm really mad with this company because they did this and this and this. And then you start watching that. Does that replicate in other areas? Oh, okay, now we know something that's good here. This company has been doing this in a couple areas. People don't like that. Guess what? We need to tell that company, hey, yeah, listen to what people are talking about. So it's like you're getting a sneaky way to do it, but using it right here with our phones, our LLMs like Grok, ChatGPT, Gemini, and some others. Claude, also a very good one.
I remember, Terry, that I was not the most technical guy ever to go into this business. And I would imagine that you remember a publicist, Raleigh Pensky. Raleigh wrote a book on how to become highly influential, how to publicize yourself. And I go back to a time, and I've told this on the Biz Communication Show before, but it's highly relevant. I go back to a time when I was just starting out, and Raleigh Pensky and I got on a phone conversation. She was in Arizona, I was in Georgia, and I said, what do you think I need to learn to get started? And she mentioned a couple of things, and I said, oh no, that's just way too complicated for me. And she said, Bill, we're not hanging up this phone until you get this right. Mm-hmm. And I finally did, Terry. And guess what? It was how to copy and paste on the internet.
I'm thinking you still use that little ditty now every so often.
So we've come a long way. And what amazes me so much about artificial intelligence and the particular tools that you mentioned is that when you ask a question, which is the way to really find the information, the second that you stop typing the question, AI begins giving you the answer. And I wouldn't try to sell an Encyclopedia Britannica today, Terry. We get our answers much more instantly, much more specifically, and there's nothing at all outdated about them. One of the points that we observed at the start is how you've spoken in so many countries, how you have been awarded the highest award of the National Speakers Association. And Terry, there are people who are listening, I'm sure, who are curious about the speaking profession today. And there's some who have had some speaking experience, and they're thinking about becoming a professional speaker. So right after this message, we want your advice on how we would go about doing that. Be back in a couple of seconds.
Do you wish you felt confident about giving speeches? Do you want to deal with difficult people constructively? And what about becoming more persuasive in sales? Then keep listening now to Dr. Bill Lampton. He spent 20 years in management, so he knows the communication skills you need for success. I urge you to call the Biz Communication Guy today for a no-cost but very valuable 30-minute discussion about your communication challenges. Call now, 678-316-4300. Again, that's 678-316-4300.
We're here on the Biz Communication Show. I'm your host, Bill Lampton, the Biz Communication Guy, welcoming the opportunity to speak with Terry Brock, one of my longtime friends, associates, mentors, and certainly a role model. Terry, just before that short break, I mentioned that there are people who are wondering, how do you get started today? Not 20 years ago or 30 years ago when you and I started. How do you get started today to become a professional, full-time professional speaker?
Well, there's no one way to do it because it varies from a lot of people. But a way that I've seen, and we're seeing with many, many professional speakers, is you want to be knowledgeable and an expert in a particular area, so that you can solve problems, as you were saying before, and our friend Lois Kramer talks about that extensively. So you want to be able to solve problems and do it in a way by presenting. But people need to know about you. Right now, competition is white hot. There's so many people that are speaking, that are giving information and doing a very good job of it too. So you've got to stand out in a real good way that solves their problems. A good way that I have found works for me, works for you, Bill, and is working for many other people as well, is make sure you have a very good professional appearance on YouTube regularly. Regular communication that you send out. Being able to stay in touch with people, solving their problems. If people want answers, they often go today to YouTube. YouTube has exceeded the viewers on the traditional networks long ago. No longer are we tied to ways that it was years ago when we'd have the 3 networks or then the cable stations. Today, we're doing it on the net. And YouTube is there because it can get fine-tuned. I'm amazed, and Gina and I sit and watch YouTube and are amazed at the kind of specificity and degree of influence that is out there for many different people in given fields. We have certain people that we follow in AI, certain people that we follow with improving our lives, certain people I like following the Stoic philosophy and seeing what they're doing. I'm a big fan of Miyamoto Musashi, the Japanese samurai warrior long ago, and people like that. I like to see those, and they have a lot of channels for that. This is the beauty of it. So I would say to get started, think about the problem you can solve first. not just what you can do or what you think is a nifty, groovy idea. Well, that's real good, Sparky, but it doesn't really matter what you think. What matters is what they think. So this is where the LLMs, those large language models, AI tools, can show us people are looking for help in this area and they're not getting enough of it. And by the way, that's an area that you know about that's really good, or you could learn it because it's very close. It'd be like if a medical doctor needed to learn about a given disease, but she hadn't studied that yet. She hadn't studied as much about that, but she could easily come up to speed on it, studying on her own, studying at the University of YouTube, we call it that euphemistically, going out there, taking in some college courses, some extra medical courses to learn that disease if a lot of people are there and it ties in with her background. That's the way to do it today. You find out those areas where people are hurting, where they have a need. You find, well, like they told us in business school, you find the problem and you solve it. You want to find out what's going on. And today we've got the research to be able to do that as never before. I was just doing some research before our call today on some areas that are going on and what's happening and what you can trust online and what you can't trust. And it was really revealing for me. I'm going to be sharing that later today at our Stark Raving Entrepreneurs meeting. It happens to be today. We're going to be talking about things and showing this tool that has shown what was going on. And we knew that it was going on then, but there were other tools that were saying something different. And then they were even saying, what is happening now? That's not true. That's misinformation. That was the term they were using, or disinformation. And yet it really was happening. And now we can look back and go, okay, this is good to know for the future. That way, when you know what is right and you know what is accurate and a reliable source and you know how to use that tool, now you got a real edge. And that gives you the ability to get out and speak as a speaker. And another thing, Bill, if I could mention, right now, again, I agree with you, the market has changed. It's no longer the way it used to be in the field of professional speaking. Yes, there still is a place for a person standing on a stage with a microphone, real people there talking to them. There is a place for that. We like that. We like that human connection. But also there's other ways we communicate. That we communicate as you and I are doing right now with video. We're communicating with one person to many. So we do that. Our Stark Raving Entrepreneurs, we do that, where we have people around the world that join us and we get a chance to solve problems and have feedback as if we were in the same room. Find out how you can do that, how you can communicate in other ways. We're also doing a lot with writing now more than ever. And it's easier than ever because we can get the LLMs to help us write, not writing it for us, but as an assistant giving us the raw material that we then take and craft along with what we want. Audio is still very strong. With podcast, you can do audio only, or you can do audio and video that would be on, say, YouTube, where you might have an interview. This is a great way for you to solve problems. Often people talk about what we are as a professional speaker, and I say that we all need to aim for being a CSP. Now, CSP has a meaning within the National Speakers Association of a certified speaking professional. That's a good thing to have for professional speakers. I encourage them to look into it. I have one myself, but I don't mean that in this case. Here I mean CSP is a communicator who solves problems. That's what we need to go for. Find out what the problems are, how you can solve it, and then have the skills in communication to use that. And you can learn a lot about that from the Biz Communication guy, Bill Lampton. Those of you watching this, I'm going to embarrass Bill a little bit here, but he is incredibly good. He has his doctorate, a real doctorate in communication. He has helped many people with this, and he can help you with these kind of areas and more. So get in touch with this young man. He's got some real wisdom.
Thank you for that very kind endorsement, Terry. I am a true devotee of YouTube. To me, this is a visual encyclopedia.
Yeah.
that is it's and you're in my price range. We get so much free advice there on practically any topic from a great range of experts.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you and I were having a conversation, as we do often, sharing ideas. About a year and a half ago, I mentioned to you that I had started doing YouTube Shorts, which is 60 seconds or less. And you said, Bill, that's a good idea. Well, Terry, I now produce, while I continue to host interviews such as this, I now produce 3 60-second or less YouTube Shorts a week.
Mm-hmm.
Because you and I know, and all of our viewers and listeners know, that our attention span is not what it was even 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when people would listen to very long monologues or even very long dialogues, but we want it quickly now. And so I have found value in YouTube Shorts, and I assume you're producing those as well.
Oh yeah, I find they're real helpful because people want information quickly, and you can get a lot of views that way. People get a chance to know you, and then it can lead to your long form videos, which would be there and what they do. Actually, the way YouTube does it now, it was 60 seconds, and now they say it can be 3 minutes or less, which is okay. But Bill, you're right on target. Once again, 60 seconds and less gets more views because people think 3 minutes, boy, that's a long time. Huh? But they're thinking of it that way. So we've got to adapt and change to the market. And that's the important. Whenever we're alive, we've got to say, don't let me tell you about what's happened in the past. I mean, that's nice. But when you think about it, Bill, when you and I were younger, when I say think of like 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, around in there were things that people were looking at that were in the past at that time. Well, what we've got to always do throughout history is say, what are people looking for now, right now? Now, we can bring in what we had in the past. You and I are talking about Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, Seneca, and people like that, the Stoics like that. That's good. Their wisdom is still good today. And that's what we can bring in versus some of the styles and customs that might have been valid in the 1820s or the 1840s or the 1900s. Whatever it is, that's okay. What we've got to do is focus on what people want right now.
Terry, we have time for one more question. I invite you to tell us about something I mentioned in the introduction, Stark Raving Entrepreneurs, which is your weekly grand training opportunity. Tell us the format, what happens, and also how do we get access to that?
Well, thank you for asking. It's a program that's designed to help entrepreneurs who want to get out there and do things on their own, serving a market by using technology, particularly. Using video is one thing we did. We were actually called video rock stars before we became Stark Raving Entrepreneurs. But now what we do is we show people every week, like today we're going to do that, how to use certain tools and how to make that work to translate into business, how to use AI, how to use Grok, how to use ChatGPT, how to use these. Matter of fact, today I'm going to be talking about Grok, key areas where you can use that tool to generate business, to do research, to create magnificent videos, more than you can in other places, and audio as well. These kind of things are available. So with Stark Raving Entrepreneurs, we give people an opportunity to build their business the way they want, and we build it on a rock solid philosophy that we both, Gina and I, embrace, and that is live and let live. Do whatever you want.
How do we access that? Is it a membership deal, or is it just come in and watch, or what's the deal on that, Terry?
Yeah, it's a membership, and we offer the opportunity for people to get involved. Come over to starkravingentrepreneurs.com. If you go to starkravingentrepreneurs.com, you'll find the information there. All of it's there. And let us know. If you got a specific question, drop me a note. I'm terry@terrybrock.com, and be happy to help you and work with you on that, because you need to do the things you want to do in life. As long as you're not harming someone else, get out there and have fun, learn it, and build your business. It's really the best way to secure your future and those of your loved ones, is to have your own business where you're not dependent on anyone else, but you can do it on your own and make the world a better place.
I certainly endorse Stark Raving Entrepreneurs, and I encourage every viewer and listener to check into that. Terry, as always, I've had the privilege of interviewing you periodically on the Biz Communication Show, and always you're not contemporary. You're way ahead of contemporary. You're a pace setter, and anytime important changes come along that we need to be aware of, you've got on the leader's cap. You learn it, and then very fortunately for the rest of us, you translate it into our lingo, and you help us learn these vast new accessories, or I'll call them really necessities, that we need for success. Certainly, we have viewers and listeners who want your contact information. So will you share that with us, please?
Yes, and you can reach me at terry@terrybrock.com. And those of you that might be joining the audio, Terry and Brock can be spelled different ways. So Terry is Terry, and Brock is spelled the right way, Brock. So terry@terrybrock.com, and I answer all of those requests that I can get to, and which is usually 100%. So I'll look forward to hearing from you on that.
Thank you, Terry. And I believe that Terry Brock, if I were to look back over 3 decades, if I were to look at the top 3 coaches, mentors, colleagues who have taught me and who have encouraged me and who have supported me, Terry Brock would be in that top 3. There's no question about it.
Thank you, Bill.
And now I'd like to give my contact information. My YouTube channel is Bill Lampton, Ph.D. On there, in fact, I go back, Terry, to 2007 when I started recording instructional videos about communication. And many of those are solo presentations, but in the last 8 years, the Biz Communication Show has been hosting experts. So I encourage you to, when you go to my YouTube channel, Bill Lampton, Ph.D., to subscribe there. Then my website, since my tagline is Biz Communication Guy, logically, my website is bizcommunicationguy.com. When you're there, you'll have an opportunity, which I invite you to take, to subscribe to my podcast. And then I welcome telephone conversations so that I can hear what your communication problems and challenges are, explore solutions, find if I'm the resource that you need to work with, or do I refer you to someone else? And an initial call like that has no financial involvement. That number is 678-316-4300. Before we close, I want to recognize the co-producer of the Biz Communication Show, Mike Stewart, Nashville-based. He's been a marketing and technology guide for me for many years. And his website is localinternetpresence.com. Terry Brock, again, so many gems of wisdom, so many guidelines from a genuine, unquestionable expert, and that's you. So please tell us how you would sort of pull together our conversation today and leave us with a minute and a minute and a half of what I might say are some nuggets, are some gems that we really ought to remember and act on.
We are living in an exciting time right now. It's also very scary when we see AI changing our world profoundly. Really, every day, new things happen. It can get scary, but there's great opportunities for those who can understand what's happening and then be able to take that and use it to do good for others. Helping others out, helping them to achieve their goals is the way to do it. When you can help others get what they want, you'll be able to get whatever you want. My buddy Zig Ziglar said that long ago, that you can get anything you want if you help enough other people get what they want. Take the power that's available with AI and all these other little tools that are out there that can help you to serve others better, to help them meet their needs. And by doing that, you'll have the lifestyle that you want, the future that you want. The more you can help them, the better off you'll be. Bill, it's an honor to be with you as always. I appreciate you. And for those of you watching it, get to know this guy. I know him one-on-one. He is genuine, sincere, and he really knows his stuff with a real Ph.D. I mean, he earned it and all that. So he's a guy you want to get to know for your communication to get better and better. Bill, thank you so much for having me with you today.
My privilege, and keep that calendar handy because, as you know, I will call on you again. And 3 months from now, we will have other remarkable changes that you have mastered, and we'll be calling on you. So keep that calendar handy.
You bet.
Thanks to those of you who joined us for this dynamic conversation with Cherry Brock on the video and on the audio portions of the Biz Communication Show. Invite you to be with us again next week for another informative, interesting, exciting, and beneficial version of the Biz Communication Show. I'm Bill Lampton, the Biz Communication Guy.